On drifting ice fields, giant walrus herds gather, creatures of both danger and promise. For the people who've endured here for generations, the walrus is no sport. It is survival. Food, warmth, clothing, and heritage. A single animal, heavier than a small car, can keep families alive through months of darkness. Yet each hunt is also ceremony, a fragile bond between people and sea. Subscribe and step inside a story where life and death balance on cracking ice, and tradition fights to survive against a changing world. Into the death ice. When the brief hunting season arrives, silence breaks. Snow crunches under boots as hunters ready their small craft. Narrow wooden boats, hardened with steel and motor skiffs, patched from years of use, slide down toward the water. The sea may look calm, but beneath its skin runs a maze of current and thin, shifting ice. Engines cough to life, echoing against cliffs and glacier walls. Men and women push off together, small dark shapes slipping into a white, endless sea. Each carries the weight of survival, and the knowledge that the village's winter depends on what happens beyond the horizon. Eyes scan the distance for a sign. The faint rise of tusks, a glistening back rolling just above the water. The dark cluster of a herd hauled out on an ice floe. Targets are never chosen carelessly. The hunters look for mature males, heavy with blubber, wide in the shoulders, tusks strong but brittle with age. Too young and the meat is small. Too old and the danger grows tenfold. Every decision is a calculation. Approach too close and the herd will stampede into the water. Shoot too soon, and the kill is wasted if the bull dives and sinks. Here, one wrong move can mean hunger or death. The first shot, it happens fast. A shadow stirs on the ice. A bull lifts its massive head, whiskers trembling, small eyes sharp with ancient instinct. A shot cracks the air and echoes back from ice and sea. Instant chaos. The water explodes in spray and fury as the walrus thrashes, tusks whipping, tail slamming. The boat rocks wildly. Hunters shout, but not in fear. They shout in focus. A harpoon flashes, rope cutting into the sea. The line burns through calloused palms as they brace and pull, fighting to keep the animal from vanishing into the black. The ice beneath them shifts and moans. Everyone knows how quickly it can break and how easily the sea can claim boat and men alike. Still they hold, still they pull, then silence. The sea calms. The bull is theirs. No one cheers. There is only relief and the knowledge that the hardest work is just beginning. Work on the frozen edge. The butchering begins at once. There is no waiting. The cold in the sea will not. Elias kneels first, his parka stiff with ice, and drives a blade as long as his arm into the thick hide. Steam bursts upward, curling in the wind like smoke. Two men lean in to help, pulling the hide back in heavy folds. It takes strength and rhythm, every slice following the grain of the animal. The boy beside them flinches when the blade slips and cuts deep with a wet sound. But the hunter only nods and keeps working. The ice itself is alive, sighing under weight. A loud crack makes everyone freeze for a heartbeat, eyes darting to the horizon. Nothing breaks, not yet. They shift their weight, anchor the ropes tighter, and move faster. As the first sheet of hide peels free, its use is already decided. Some will be boots tough enough to walk miles over jagged ice. Some will line sleds or become the stretched skin of a drum used when the village dances to thank the sea. Nothing is random. Everything is claimed. Then comes the blubber, pale, glossy, rich as butter. Elias slides his knife under, and it rolls away in gleaming slabs. The boy's face lights with recognition. This is the fire that will burn when the sun disappears. Pound for pound, it holds more heat than any meat. Enough to keep lamps alive and bellies warm long after darkness returns. Hands work in rhythm, red and slick. Blocks of blubber are stacked carefully, each one precious as gold. Men grunt with effort, sweat freezing on brows. Some pause just long enough to chew strips of fresh meat cooked quickly on a small stove balanced on the ice. The smell is iron and salt and life. Further down, tusks are cut free and washed clean with seawater. They will travel far from here, carved into knife handles, fish hooks, or traded for the fuel that will power next year's hunt. Even the tendons are saved. Women later will twist them into ropes strong enough to haul another bull from the black. Suddenly, a hollow groan runs through the flow. A long crack races out, silver water flashing just feet away. In an instant, the men stop cutting and drag meat and gear toward the boats. The boy's eyes are wide, but Elias is calm. He's done this all his life. They shift everything onto thicker ice, check the ropes again, then return to the carcass. The danger is noted, not feared. Work goes on, because stopping is not an option. The cold deepens and the tide tugs. Every moment counts. They carve until the bull is only memory and lifeblood on white ice. Nothing is left to waste or drift away. By the time they are done, the sleds are heavy, and the boy's knife hand is blistered and proud. Return to life. By the time the boats nose back to shore, the village is already alive. Children sprint across hard-packed snow, calling and laughing, their breath rising white into the cutting wind. Dogs bark and pull at chains, crazed with the scent of blood and oil. Women wave from doorways, their eyes sharp, searching for who returned and who did not. The first sleds creak up from the water, stacked with meat and blubber. The smell of broth and smoke curls into the cold sky as oil lamps are fed and lit. One by one, the hunters step onto solid ground again, quiet but triumphant. That night, homes glow gold against the frozen dark. Inside, families eat and warm themselves, but also remember. Around the fire, elders tell how the sea tested them, how ice once broke underfoot, how storms swallowed boats, but some returned. Fear is not hidden. It is passed down so the young will know how to respect what feeds them. Every hunt adds another thread to an unbroken line. Skill passed down, memory renewed. Becoming hunters. Children learn by watching, listening, and touching. They handle the tools, feel the weight of rope and the bite of cold steel. They practice standing on ice that shifts underfoot, learning to balance as the sea tilts and groans. The first lessons are not about weapons. They are about patience and respect. To read the weather in the color of the water. To watch the wind scatter snow across ice and know if it will hold. To decide when to wait, when to risk, and when to turn back. One day each will face their first hunt. And when they return, if they return, the whole village will eat from that kill. That night, the child becomes part of the long chain, one more link holding tradition together. Balance with the sea. To outsiders, the hunt can look brutal. Blood on ice, smoke in the cold. But here it is not cruelty, it is dialogue. The sea gives and takes. The people risk everything to take what they need, but never more. They thank the animal. They thank the ocean. Some still lower a strip of blubber into the water as an offering, whispering quiet words so old no one remembers when they were first spoken. This ethic has held for thousands of years. It is why families can live here at all. It is why the Arctic, though deadly, is also home. Signs of change, but the Arctic itself is shifting. Hunters know it before scientists measure it. Ice forms later each fall and breaks earlier each spring. Herds gather in strange places or crowd by the thousands onto beaches where one loud sound can trigger a deadly stampede. Journeys once measured in hours now stretch for days, further from safety and deeper into unpredictable sea. Fuel grows expensive. Younger hunters leave for work far away. Some families can no longer afford the risk or the cost, and yet the hunt continues. Because stopping would mean more than hunger. It would mean forgetting who they are. It would mean the rope to the past snapping at last. They go because every journey across the ice holds memory. Each step repeats a path carved by those who came before. The cold teaches what no classroom can. Patience, caution, courage. The sea itself is the exam. One moment it is still and silver. The next it cracks open without warning. Only those who respect it return. Inside warm houses the night after a hunt, the youngest listen as stories unravel. Grandfathers speak of winters when the sun did not rise for weeks, and blizzards tore roofs from homes. Mothers describe times when the ice shifted so suddenly that boats were trapped, and men had to sleep on open sea for days. These stories are not told to frighten, but to prepare. Fear, when shared, becomes wisdom. Even as technology creeps in, steel boats and glowing screens cannot soften the sea. A motor fails. A battery dies. A storm rolls in faster than radar predicts. Then it is still muscle and instinct that keep the living alive. The rope, the harpoon, the deep inherited knowledge of ice and wind. Cracks are appearing beyond the ice itself. The climate is turning. Old paths across frozen channels no longer hold. Each year the melt comes earlier. Each year the dark water stretches farther before freezing. Walrus herds gather in places no one remembers them being. Entire beaches churn with thousands of restless animals. One gunshot or one clap of thunder can send them crashing over each other in chaos. Hunters watch and worry. They know a single mistake can now mean a stampede that kills hundreds of animals at once. Waste they have never tolerated. Some communities travel greater distances to find safe hunting ground. The price of fuel climbs with every mile. A trip that once cost little now drains the year's savings. But the hunt cannot stop. If the hunt stops, so does the thread that ties each generation to the next. Still, change presses in. Younger people sometimes leave for towns far south, chasing jobs and easier winters. When they return to visit, their hands are softer, their balance on ice unsure. Elders watch and wonder if one day no one will know how to take a walrus, how to survive without outside help. But tradition is stubborn. In small houses lit by blubber lamps, children still handle knives under watchful eyes. They still hear the ancient thanks whispered over the animal before the first cut. They still ride in the boats, silent and wide-eyed, as the sea opens before them. For scientists, the walrus is a keystone animal. Proof that the Arctic's heart still beats. When herds scatter or vanish, it signals deep trouble in the web of life. But for the hunters, the meaning is older and more personal. A single animal can still sustain dozens of people. It keeps bellies full, homes warm, and memory alive. It reminds them they belong to a place most would not dare to enter. Night after night, the wind howls across the white sea. Snow drifts and reshapes the shore. Yet inside there is warmth. Children sleep full after long meals. Hunters mend ropes and sharpen blades by lamplight. Outside the dark sea waits, endless and unmoved. Tomorrow or the next day, the boats will go again. They will thread a path through shifting leads of water and ice, searching for shadows on the horizon. There will be fear. There is always fear. But it rides alongside skill and quiet defiance. Because to turn back would mean hunger, but also something worse: forgetting. This is the real fight on thin ice. Not just the cold or the animal, but the pull of forgetting who you are. Each hunt stands against that. Each rope burn and frostbite scar is proof of survival, proof of belonging. The Arctic is changing faster than memory can keep up, but these journeys remain. They are acts of resilience, of love disguised as danger. They say we are still here. We still know how to live where the map turns white. This is the White Sea, unforgiving and majestic. This is the story of the walrus hunt, where humans and nature meet on breaking ice, where survival is not conquest but respect, and where every life hangs on skill, courage, and the will to remember.